Hey guys, and welcome back for another video. Today I'd like to help you complete your first part of the Newborn Skyscales collection achievement, and the first part of that collection achievement is to track down 21 scales. This guide will be most beneficial if you only have the Path of Fire mounts and none of the Heart of Thorns masteries that are also available on this map. This guide attempts to cut down on waypoints whenever possible, so rather than returning to a waypoint for each and every scale, we're going to try to grab a couple while we're out each time. Before you can even get started, make sure you've completed the story for the Living World Season 6. After completing the story, you should receive a mail from Goric talking about some Skyscales, and you'll need to head back to Goric in Dragonfall. The meta event on this map will sometimes remove the waypoints, and you'll either need to participate in the meta event for a little while, or just wait until other players do so to get your waypoints back. That said, we'll need to head to the Underworld waypoint, and just south of that waypoint, you should see a series of rocks you can jump up on with your Springer. And once you're on top, do make sure you switch to something faster like your Raptor or Jackal. You want to head forward for a second, but then take a huge left U-turn in order to head back down another path. Follow this path until you see an opening on the right-hand side, and take and follow that right-hand path. You'll see a Jackal portal, and just to the left of that portal, if you fall down the cliff, you'll end up right where you need to be. Be sure to talk to Goric so you can unlock the collection achievement for the Newborn Skyscales as well as the Skyscale Scales collection. And with that collection unlocked, you can head towards the cliff edge where you'll see your first scale. Once you've got your first scale, be sure to pick up one of the Skyscales, and we'll be using this Skyscale to head west and follow the outer perimeter of Dragonfall itself. You'll pass a statue on your right-hand side, and just beyond that, you should see a different-looking rocky structure on the outside of a cliff. The scale we're looking for isn't actually on that rocky structure, rather just below it. And we can use our Skyscale to safely glide right down to its location. From here, we will need to head back to the Underworld waypoint. From the waypoint, you'll need to head northeast, and we'll have a few chasms we'll need to jump over first, and then we can continue along in the same direction until a cave opens up on the left-hand side. You might remember this cave from the story, and if you go all the way down to Kraukatoric, and then go just to the right of him, you should see a small opening with another scale. Head back outside the cave, take an immediate right, and head down the path you originally came. Jump over the chasm again, but make another right to continue moving up north. Follow this path until eventually you reach the stone arch, and you'll want to be on the platform just beyond that stone arch. Once on that platform, get on your Springer and look towards the east where you should see some cliff faces that you can jump up on. Right on this cliff face, you should see your next scale. And before you jump down, be sure to continue along the outer ridge of that cliff face and you'll find another one right next to it. From the last scale, you're going to want to use a quick mount to avoid some enemies and make your way west. After a while, you should see directly in front of you another series of platforms you can jump up on with your Springer. And once you make it up those few platforms, stay to the right-hand side and use your Springer to climb up just a little bit higher. Here you'll see a Skyscale, and we'll be using that to get our next scale. Now that you have a Skyscale, head southwest and use the Jackal portals as a guide. You'll want to descend, but not too quickly, and you do want to make sure you hug the right-hand rocky cliff face. Soon enough, you should see a floating rock, and you'll just need to land your Skyscale on that rock to get your next scale. Next, you'll need to head to the Melandru's Lost Domain waypoint, and from that waypoint you can make your way south until it dead ends at a cliff, and then just make your way east until you see a large outstretched tree branch. Be careful not to fall off and make your way to the very end of that tree branch where you'll see your next scale. From here, you can mount up on your skimmer and use that to fall down onto the waters below without taking any damage. Head west around the outer perimeter of the map. And once you see a cove opening up on the right-hand side, be sure to go in there, and just behind the waterfall, you should see your next scale. Mount back up on your skimmer and continue to hug the outer perimeter of the map. And again, just like before, we're looking for a cove that'll open up on the right-hand side. Follow this cove back almost identical to where we just found the waterfall, and you should see another scale. Again, we'll need to take the Melandru's Lost Domain waypoint, and this time we'll be headed northwest. There are a few paths, so just make sure you're focused on the one that's on an incline, and if you hug the left-hand side of that path, you should see some cliff sides you can jump up on with your Springer. Continue down this same path using your Springer to jump up on cliffs whenever necessary until you reach a statue. Here you can turn your character south, jump up on the nearby platform with your Springer, and here we'll see another tree with an outstretched branch that of course we'll need to make our way to the end of in order to get our next scale. Again, use your skimmer to negate any fall damage and make your way south off of the branch until you could head east. Eventually, you'll see a road, and you'll want to follow that road to the northeast until it opens up on the right-hand side, and you'll see a Skyscale. Fly your Skyscale as high as you can and use it to get to the nearby ledge. And by landing on that ledge, you should be able to use the Skyscale to jump up even higher. Now you should have enough height to fly onto the waterfall, and you'll just want to follow the edge of that waterfall until you meet some rocks. Just below those rocks on a small cliff, you should see your next scale. Use your Springer to jump back on top of the waterfall, and continue to use your Springer to head north out of the waterfall area and onto the nearby cliffs. Just ahead of where you're at, you should see another Skyscale, and we'll be using that Skyscale to reach Kraukatorik's wing. Once on the wing, you can follow it north until eventually it starts to dead end. And here you'll want to use that Skyscale to fly up onto the next highest platform. From here you can ditch your Skyscale and use a faster mount if you prefer. But you'll be headed south back the way you came on this higher platform until on your left-hand side you see some green grass. You may need to use your Springer to jump up on these green cliffs, and once you're on top, just continue to head south looking for a tree on your right-hand side. Go just past the tree itself, and right next to the trunk of the tree you should be able to see your next scale. From here, we'll be using a waypoint, but we do want to make sure that we grab a Skyscale before we do that, so just head north from your current location and grab the nearest Skyscale. Once on the Skyscale, you can head to the Pack Command waypoint, and just north of the waypoint you'll see a large airship, and we'll be using that Skyscale mount that we successfully teleported with in order to fly on top. Getting on top of the airship can be a little tricky, so I recommend trying to aim your Skyscale towards the very nose of the ship itself. And once you're successfully on the ship, just continue to head as high as you can on the airship. If you turn your character south, you should see a large rocky pillar, and we just need to use our Skyscale to fly up and land on that pillar. You can also do this with the Springer if you prefer. I just happen to think that the Skyscale is a little bit easier. Once you've collected the scale, you can jump down with your skimmer to avoid fall damage, and from here you'll just want to take the northernmost path from the waypoint. Follow this path until you reach the end of the bridge, and just after that bridge on the right-hand side, you should see your next scale. From here, you'll need to make your way back to the path and head down it just a little ways before making your way south to head up some cliffs. Once on top, you can continue heading southwest on this new path. And eventually you'll be stopped by a ledge that, of course, you can use your Springer to get up on top of. Again, just continue southwest until you're on Kralkatorrik's back, where you should see your next scale. If you look to the east from your previous scale, you should see another ledge you can jump up on with your Springer, and you'll want to follow this all the way until it dead ends. At the edge of the cliff, you can switch to your skimmer mount and fall off the same direction you were facing when you reach the edge of the cliff. Once in the water, you should see your next scale right along the edge of the water. Make sure to get back on your skimmer mount so that you can move as fast as possible on the water, and you'll just want to follow the river north until it starts to open up on the right-hand side, at which point you should head towards that right-hand side. You'll want to go in between the cliffs and the edge of that pillar, and if you stick towards the pillar and follow it all the way around, you should see your next scale. Now you'll need to head to the Burning Forest waypoint, and directly behind that waypoint, or to the west, you should be able to use your skimmer mount to make your way down the cliffside. Until you get just past the statue where you'll see another scale. From here, you can either jump back up or just use the waypoint, and this time you want to head northeast. Follow the path for a while, keeping your attention on the left-hand side of the screen, where you'll eventually see a cave opening. And in this small cave in the far back corner, you should see your next scale. Leave the cave to the right the same way you came in. But quickly on the left-hand side, you'll see some cliff faces you can jump up with your Springer. On top of these cliffs, you'll see a jackal portal, so be sure to give yourself time to switch into your jackal so you can take that portal. From that portal, you'll just want to head east, and eventually you'll come up on some cliff faces, but rather than jumping up on them, you should see your next scale on the ground below. From here, you can head back west towards that jackal portal that you just came through, and just beyond that portal, you should see a Skyscale. You'll just need to fly with your Skyscale northeast from your current location, Since you can easily lose your bearings, I'll show exactly where we're headed on the map. And if you alt-click the map, you'll be able to put a personal waypoint to show you exactly where you need to go. It's a good idea to periodically stop on some tree branches or cliffs so that you can gain a little bit more altitude with your Skyscale. But eventually you'll make it to the other side of the map and to those branches. Descend on your Skyscale until you reach that last scale. And once you grab that last scale, you should now have all 21 scales required for the collection. For anyone out there with limited masteries, I hope this helped you find all 21 scales. Do keep in mind that if you have a griffin or something else, you can obviously use that and it'll probably just make this faster. If you're curious about the Skyscale or any of the requirements going into it, be sure to check out my previous video on the topic. But as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.